All right. All right. Here we go. On today's podcast, I welcome on a special guest and a good friend. He is a coach of the year and head coach at Westerly Wrestling. Wow. And Coach Al Gaccione. Coach, how are you today?
I'm doing fine. Doing fine. Yourself?
I'm doing pretty well. Sorry, I struggled with that. I'm like, sound like a kid with a wrestling. I was gonna say.
Okay.
Yeah. How are you holding up during the COVID times?
Personally doing pretty good. Not a whole lot's changed on my end of it, work style. Work-wise, everything's the same. Family life's good. No question. No problems there. Obviously, waiting to see what's going to go on with the winter season as far as wrestling. An email came out today or yesterday. Right now we're a high-risk sport,
Yeah.
so. As far as any off-season kind of contacts, it's tough for us to do any off-season training because they consider us high risk, and there's just hasn't been much talk as far as from the interscholastic league as far as what's going to go on with the winter sport as of right now. So.
Oh, well, that's yeah. I've heard some coaches too, like saying the same thing, that they're like haven't really heard much. They got like a vague email from the interscholastic league so far to see what's going to happen. But that's interesting. Do you think you guys will get pushed back? Like,
I don't know. I mean, I'm on the executive board committee, and we have a few meetings with the through the coaches association, and we've kind of shortened our schedule in case the season does happen and it either starts late or gets cut short. So we've downed it from 19 matches down to 11 matches, making it just league matches. No mandatory crossovers, but we can still do crossovers if we want to add them into our schedule. So the amount of matches, tournaments that were allotted by the Interscholastic League, we're still going to keep that amount, but we've just dummied down our schedule, and we can add things in after if need be. But the way things are going, we're thinking there's not going to be any kind of tournaments. Obviously any state, leaving the state of Rhode Island for any tournaments or matches or anybody coming in from other states, that seems to be kind of going to be on the back burner for now until, things either subside or clear up.
Yeah, that's a tough situation, but at least you guys are able to work around it, have that 11, drop the matches down to 11 matches and be able to work something out so the kids at least have some sort of season.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, you have these kids that are working year round, whether it's freshman, sophomore. And that's the one great thing about wrestling is, there's plenty of freshmen who are varsity, so there's underclassmen freshmen who come in who have the, great potential to be a state champion, and, it just puts a kink in, their career where they could be a 4-time state champion. This kind of sets them back. But, obviously safety's the first and foremost thing we want to, keep in mind. And, obviously with wrestling, it's a close contact sport. You're sweating on everybody. You're bleeding, you're sweating, you're spitting, breathing. I mean, there's no avoiding it. And keeping a mask on through the course of a 6-minute match, it just really isn't practical that it's going to happen. And
Yeah.
you're not really going to stop matches for masks to come down and put them back up. So, there's a reason it's a high risk sport. And I mean, even though it's only 6 minutes, but it's 6 minutes of very close contact wrestling.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and like you said, if you have to wear a mask, and it's like you guys are not gonna be able to get it's gonna take longer than 6 minutes if you have to keep stopping and fixing the mask, and
you
have to get like a special mask at that point.
It had to be a complete, like a whole hoodie clava mask type style where it can't come down.
Yeah, exactly. If you're wearing the scuba mask or something. Yeah, at that point. I want to get into, how did you get into the sport of wrestling?
So my sophomore year, I went to Charahoe for automotives, and a few guys that wrestled on the team had approached me and said, "Hey, what do you think about coming out for wrestling?" And I didn't know anything about the sport, and I never saw it prior to that. I had a cousin who wrestled. I think when I was younger, I may have seen a match or two. But I said, "Yeah, sure." So went out for wrestling at Charahoe as a sophomore. Of course, I lived in Westerly, so me getting a ride to and from, was difficult. So one of the guys on the team had lived in Westerly. He was giving me a ride back and forth. Well, he ended up quitting the team, and then that was the end of my wrestling career at Charahoe. That ended there. I was about 3 weeks maybe on a team. So my junior year, I went back to Westerly High School, and Vinny Cardoza and his brother-in-law, Rob Hamill, came to the high school and wanted to start an intramural program. So my junior year, we had an intramural team. Probably had about, I would say maybe about 15 kids that came out for the team. I picked up on it kind of quickly because I did have somewhat of a foundation from the year prior. My senior year, Vinny ended up getting, Cardoza ended up getting the team into the Interscholastic League. So 1994, which was my senior year, ended up being the first year that Westerly had an Interscholastic League program. So, I was a 500 wrestler, I wasn't anything good or great or, won some matches here and there, but, we won one match our senior year. We tied a match. So that was pretty good for a first year team. After I graduated, I ended up going to work for Vinny, and, he said, hey, he's like, I don't have an assistant coach. Do you want to come and help out? And I said, yeah, sure. And my first year I was a volunteer assistant coach. And the second year after that, Tucker Taranova said, you're here, we might as well pay you. So he, I became the assistant coach, and, I've been coaching ever since. So it's, this would be, if the season goes on, this will be year 27, so.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What's it like when you get into the coaching? What's that, it sounds like you're at a young age when you get into coaching, right?
Yes.
And then what's that like, that transition from being a wrestler into becoming a coach for wrestling?
So, like I said, I didn't have much experience coming into this as far as wrestling. So I didn't really have a whole lot to offer the program outside of just being someone there to assist, Vinny, and make sure, I was there in the beginning. So it was a big learning curve. It was also, now I went from being a wrestler and friends with the guys on the team to now being a coach. So, it's tough, making that transition where it's like, okay, guys, you got to take me serious now. We got to do this. We got to do that. And of course, the drills that we had to do. I was there just the year before. I hated doing them. Now I'm making these guys do these drills. So, they're dizzy and tired beyond belief. So it was a transition, and, it did take a few years for me to kind of pick up on things. And even as a wrestler, I got better as a wrestler and as a coach just through experience, just through wrestling on the mat with the guys, day in, day out. And, I learned a lot from Vinny Cardoza, and, he actually brought me to the level where I was as a wrestler and as a coach. And, you just, as years go on, you just pick up more and more stuff. And, as the years transponded on, Rob Cross, Jared Kuhn, we had a bunch of different people that came from different areas, and Vinny Cabisco, they all helped out, joined in, and, you learn things from them, and you pick up on things from that, and you add it into your practice and your game plans.
That's awesome. And when did you actually take over the head coaching position at Westerly?
So Vinny's last year as a head coach, I believe, was 99. 99 or 2000. 99, 2000 season was his last year. I put in for the head coaching job, and I didn't get it that year. Dave Murdoch ended up getting it. So I was kind of like on the outside looking in. But I actually ended up going up to Pontigansett High School, and I volunteered as an assistant coach up there for the 2000-2001 season. And then the year after that, Dave Murdoch left. Jared Kuhn ended up taking over the program and said, hey, why don't you come back and coach with me? So him and I went back and coached. And then, let's see, I don't know if it was a year later or 2 years later, Jamie Vetolino came in as the athletic director, did a whole rehiring process. Jared and I kind of flip-flop positions where he went from head, we were co-coaches. That's what we consider as co-coaches, never head coach and assistant coach, but on paper, it's what it was. So I would say it was probably 2001, 2002 season where I was officially the head coach on paper. But like I said, Jared and I co-coached for quite a few years after that.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. And what's it like, taking over a program and kind of creating your own culture and developing that, that mindset of developing your mind, coaching philosophy?
Yeah, well, honestly, not much really changed because, like I said, Jared, he wrestled for Vinny and I.
Yeah.
So everything that I knew came from Vinny Cardoza. Everything that Jared knew came from me and Vinny Cardoza. So,
Yeah.
what Jared was implementing was the same things that I was implementing. So to take over as the head coach, we just continued on with the same game plan and same fundamentals, same strategies, same drills. Everything remained the same going forward until this, and even till this day, everything's relatively still the same. The moves that we show, the practices. Although we did downsize the practices. When Vinny was the head coach, it was 7 days a week, 4-hour practices.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It was a part-time job.
Yeah.
So,
Sounds like it.
when Jared and I took over, we knocked it down to 2.5-hour practices in the beginning, then dumbing it down to 2 hours. We would do 6 days a week practice, no Sundays, so that was a significant difference. But Vinny did get he did get results out of what he needed, with the 4-hour
Yeah,
practice.
that's a long practice. Oh my God. How'd you guys not throw up all the time in those practices?
Yeah, I don't. I tell you, it was. I mean, we did take a lot of water breaks. That was one thing that that we did preach. Hydration. But being a new squad, new team, you just felt that to get the results that you needed to catch up to everybody else, we had to put that much more time in to get to that level of where the rest of the state was, and and the results definitely. Showed, with the state champions that we've had and the New England place finishes that we've had, and the proof was in the pudding.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool. What was it like working with Jared? Jared has also been on this podcast. So what was it like working with him? Did you guys ever wrestle against each other?
Well, we did. I mean, obviously, like I said, he came out his freshman year, and so I say he was with me from the beginning. So I coached him, practiced with him, wrestled with him in practice all the time. He was actually the first freshman state champ that Westerly ever had at the freshman states. So he has a little bit of legacy coming through the Westerly program. And we practiced together for the 3 years that he was wrestling. He got bumped up a grade, and so he kind of lost a season that way. But his senior year, he was third in the state. Not where he wanted to finish, but it's things don't always go as planned. But he kept his nose to the grind, and ended up making it to New England's. And even after that, like I said, once we started coaching together, we wrestled around quite a lot together. I think, we were, believe it or not, at one point in time, we were both the same weight. My senior year and his senior year, we were both 130, 135. When we were coaching together, we were both 150, 155. He's since moved on past that.
Yeah.
And I kind of stayed around the same. But yeah, no, I mean, once we used to bang heads, going pretty evenly back and forth, and then now that he's got a little bit of size, I'm still quicker. I can get in on him, but
Yeah.
he crushes me with that mass of his.
Yeah. Understandable. Jared's a big guy, so yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Now, what's it like? Because there really wasn't much of a wrestling. Was there a wrestling program? Like, what's it like to teach? Like, do you have kids that come in? You have to teach like the fundamentals. Like, I just remember in Westwood, was there a wrestling like fundamental thing coming up? Or
No, so we never had any youth program or middle school program up until probably around 98-ish, I believe, 97, 98-ish. We got a youth club program started.
yeah,
It took a while for it to take off. I would say probably around 2002 or 3, we ended up getting a middle school program. So having that helped us quite a bit, where we were getting kids who were experienced. But whether they're experienced or whether they're brand new, we start at the very beginning every year. Day one, we're going over the most basic of fundamentals, and because even the most seasoned veteran, while he may, I know how to do this, I know how to do that, they still have dust to shake off and rust to shake off, and so we start at square one every year. So it doesn't matter if they're coming in new or not; they're going to down to the basics.
no, that's pretty cool. That's really cool. And what was that honor like too? In 2010, you won Coach of the Year. What's that honor like, winning the Coach of the Year for you've been coaching for a while and you've achieved that goal. What's that feeling like?
I mean, it was pretty cool, especially seeing the coaches that, that were nominated. Steve Gordon, he's an icon in Rhode Island wrestling. He was put up for coach of the year. Mike Knapp, he was put up for coach of the year that year. He was the coach of the Warwick Vets, another icon in wrestling. So to be put up there on the same board with their names was incredible. But the overall, the award itself, like I told the paper back in the day, that was just a product of what the team did, their success, So, while it's great to get that award and have that accolade, they did it. They achieved that goal for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can, yes, I can teach them this, I can teach them that, but they still have to do it. You can lead a horse to water, can't make them drink, but, so they were the ones pulling that sled the entire time and got us there. The nice part about that also was that was our first year in Division One.
Oh wow.
I had been pushing to move our team up to Division One from Division Two for quite a while, and we couldn't get anybody to drop down. So for 2 years in a row, we won the Division Two sectionals. We won our division. The third year, we were runner up in Division Two sectionals, won our division. And then finally got the chance to move up, and like I said, the squad that we had just rose us to that level, won the division, and we actually finished fourth in the state, which was our highest place finishment to date that year. And we had four guys in the finals that year. Three guys in the finals that year. So that was the most that we've had for finalists also. So, it was quite an achievement overall, all the way around, team wise, coaching wise, individual wise.
Awesome. And what's it like winning those division titles and, continue to have that successful growth while you've been at Westerly?
Yeah, I mean, it's you always set out in the beginning of the season to set your goals. What do you want your goals to be? We want to have we're always looking to win a division. You're always looking to have your wrestlers win sectionals if there are sectionals. They've done away with them. They may be coming back this year. So you have your sectional goals. You have your state goals. The overall game plan. We train, we practice for states. Everything else that comes is kind of a secondary. It's like, yes, it would be nice to win the division, but we would rather win states. That's the big grand scheme of things. And I would tell the wrestlers, as far as us winning a division or winning sectionals or whatever our goals are, that they need to wrestle for themselves.
Yeah.
You worry about yourself, what you do, and what this guy does and what that guy does. That's going to dictate how we do overall. So wrestle for yourself. Don't worry about the team. Don't worry about the team score. Don't worry about this and that. Concern yourself on your match and focus on your match, and those outcomes will dictate where we go. So in the past few years, we've been very low numbered. So for us to go out and win a division is, it's been rough. We've been forfeiting 24 points, 30 points a match. Those holes are tough to climb out of. We've climbed out of a few times to win matches. But as far as having our eyes set on a division, it's kind of a distant goal for us right now.
Yeah. Why do you forfeit points? I don't know much about wrestling, so I'm
so we have there's 14 weight classes. Now if I don't have somebody at, say, the lowest weight class, 106, if they don't have anybody for the 106 weight class, and the other squad does have a wrestler for that position, well, they'll automatically get 6 team points for that. If I don't have anybody for the 113 spot and they do, again, we forfeit that spot. So every spot that we don't have a wrestler that the other team does, we give up 6 points, and vice versa. If they don't have somebody and we do, we'll get those 6 points. So when you're giving up 24 points, 30 points at 6 openings in your lineup, that kind of makes it tough to come back from. And you also run into where you have guys having such a small squad. A lot of guys just automatically become varsity, where they didn't really have to work for that position. So either they don't have to work as hard in practice, competing with somebody for that position, or they're just a first-year wrestler who doesn't really have a skill set, but they're falling into that spot.
Yeah.
So you're taking your lumps. No, they're taking their lumps that way as well. So now you're actually giving up more points down the road.
Yes, that's tough. It's a tough situation to.
Yeah, it's tough when you have inexperienced wrestlers falling into that lineup, and it happens often. But it is a great experience for them going forward because they are getting the varsity matches. So for the following year, I mean, you get better by wrestling better. So
Yeah.
by taking beatings, you see the progress that they're making, whether it's, getting pinned in the first period, the first match, 3 matches later, they're getting pinned in the second period, getting pinned in the third period, then they're losing on points, so they may be 0-8, but there's progress. They may not see it. And I tell them, I said, listen, small progress is still progress. Doesn't matter how you define it, you're still improving as you go along. May not be to the degree that you want, but you're progressing in a manner that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, that's I think it's a really good experience. And like you said, like you're going to progress as a freshman. Like, as a freshman, you fall into a varsity spot. You might be wrestling someone that's a junior or senior, but you're still getting that experience that, another freshman on another school team that wouldn't be able to get that experience. They're not facing that same, that adversity, like as like, they're probably wrestling maybe another freshman. Why you're freshman?
Yeah. I mean, they might be getting JV matches if they're lucky. They may not be.
Yeah.
They may go 3 weeks, 4 weeks without seeing anything outside of practice. So it's, there's pros and cons to it. It doesn't work out too well for the freshmen who come in at like 160, 170, because, you're not seeing a whole lot of freshmen up those weight classes. You're catching more juniors and seniors. And now you're not only are you finding somebody who's more experienced, but somebody who's stronger. And, but, we usually, I'll go up to the other wrestler and I'll be like, hey, listen, that guy's a first year freshman. Don't break him, right? Just go easy on him. And the sport of wrestling is a very gentleman sport, saying, okay, coach, thank you. I'll go easy on them. And they do. They'll go out there and work a few moves, and then they'll, either pin them or tech them, very easily. And, so we look out for our rookies who are out there with, no inclination what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, that's good. And you don't want to scare them away from the sport either by just absolutely getting demolished all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
You want them to come back next year. So
yeah. And some of them get discouraged to the point where they're like, they come off the mat shaking their head, and you try to console them as best you can, and say, listen, it's stuff that we can work on in the practice room. This guy's got 4 years experience. This guy was a state champion. This guy was a New England place finisher. You can't expect to go out and compete on their level with your experience, and in most squads, you wouldn't be out here for varsity, so just take it back to the practice room, work on the mistakes you're making, and try to improve upon them.
Yeah, that's true. And that's very right, because, anything's a learning experience. And I feel like it sounds like in that situation, just because you have such a small squad and they're just learning as they go. And, by the time they're seniors, they're going to be tough kids to compete against.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, the kids that we do bring that, that are 3 years or 4 years experience, they come to bang heads, and they, they're the kids that, top in the state, top 3, top 4, top 5, 6, they're on the podiums. Coaches always, talk about this. You may not have a good dual meet squad, but you definitely have kids that, when we know we have Wesley on the schedule, I tell my guys, don't take them lightly just because they're giving up 24, 30 points and forfeits. You're going to be in for a match, so we definitely make sure they're prepared and conditioned to go out there and wrestle individually. And that's usually what the season goals become, individual goals. There's no more team goals. That kind of takes the back burner, and it's like, all right, now you go out there, wrestle for yourself. When we go to tournaments, wrestle for yourself. And, it's just the outlook we have right now going forward until we can fill those holes.
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah. And you're doing a wonderful job, Al. I always hear positive things from other coaches in Westerly, and, past coaches that I always heard. Yeah. I've worked with, one of them being the old basketball coach, Coach Cobley. He always said, oh man, I used to see those guys growing up all the time. Yeah. So he always praised you, though. He always said you did a great job, and you always did a hell of a job working with those kids. And Din, obviously, your assistant coach is my cousin, Albert.
Yes. Yeah.
So
a couple of years ago with at the high school level, he was doing the middle school team for a little bit. And he, obviously he wrestled for me as well. And, it's going back some time. He kind of got thrown to the wolves as a freshman. If you talk to him, he came in at like 189 pounds as a freshman. And, one of his first matches was against, the Burrillville state champ. Al goes out there and not knowing what he's getting into, this kid just picks him up over his head and takes him down, ba-boom, ba-boom. And Den's like, what the hell was that? But it was a eye opener, to the, welcome to the sport of wrestling.
Yeah, definitely. It's always a good sign too, that you have wrestlers that, always come back to you, and, want to work with you and stuff like that. I'm gonna have to get you and Din on at the same time so you guys can share some stories because
Yeah, that's the one great thing about the sport. I mean, it's it's a those that stick with it. It's a very humbling sport. It's a very demanding sport, and the wrestlers that stick through it, they see what goes into it, and they want to come back. I mean, it's a love-hate sport. You hate the sport for what you have to put into it, but you love the sport for what you take from it and what you take out of it.
yeah,
And so many kids come back after, hey, can I come and to practice and roll around? Can I come help out? And it's like, yeah, I have an open door policy, and we want to get our guys to have more coach on wrestler time. I mean, the more people I can bring into the practice room to roll around, that means that my guys are getting that much more experience, much more focus and attention to the areas that they need correction with.
that's great. That's awesome. That's great that you have that and able to have kids come back and teach lessons that they've learned and pass it on to your wrestlers. Al, I want to ask too, what are your thoughts on the upcoming season? I know besides with everything that's going on, just if there is a season, what are your thoughts on the upcoming season?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, like I said, we've shortened our season. So, we actually just did a realignment this year. So we just dropped down from Division I down to Division II 2 years ago. And then this year they incorporated a Division III. So based on our records and our performance and everything that's been going on, we've now dropped down to Division III. So there are 3 divisions in with wrestling in the Scholastic League. Hopefully, with that, we're going to be wrestling schools of the same sizes, same experience, caliber. So I'm hoping that we can build off of that. We did have a good core last year. I graduated one senior, Judea Belmonte. He was one of our bigger guys. I do have, 8 or 9 kids returning. Hopefully they all do return. Hopefully we do have a season.
Yeah.
There were, I want to say 4 or 5 middle schools that were supposed to come up this year. If they do come up and out, I'm hoping I can, fill the lineup. And if so, with a full lineup, we're contenders every year, but it's just a matter of getting those bodies out there. So, it's tough to say what's going to happen. We've had 4 or 5 middle schools in the past that were supposed to come up, and they got to the high school level, and they either didn't make the transition well from the middle school level to the high school level, and they would quit, or they went off of basketball. And I'm like, wait, what? Like,
Yeah.
you wrestled middle school. You going off of basketball for? And they get cut for the team, and then they wouldn't come out for wrestling. I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah. Like, why would you stay with the sport that you were doing the whole time?
Yeah, but it's a demanding sport, and while some coaches will, cut back on things and they'll cut back on their practice times or their drills or this or that. I'm not one who's going to sacrifice, what the integrity of our program for, so that people will come out. I mean, you either want to be out on the team or you don't want to be out on the team.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I told the guys, the first practice, I said, listen, don't waste my time. Don't waste your time. Don't waste the team's time. Don't come out just to say, hey, I'm on the wrestling team. I said, you're out here to produce, you're out here to compete, and you're out here to put work in. And, this is not an easy sport. It's not meant for everybody. But if you're willing to stick it out and give me 2 weeks, you will see it get easier. And I guarantee you will see the benefits of what this sport has to offer. And most of them are pretty receptive to that. They give the 2 weeks, and, a lot of them, they stick it out, and that's, when we move on to the season. But like I said, going forward with the season, we have a few spotlights in our roster this year. Brian Garcia, he was a bubble boy the last 2 years as far as getting on the podium for placing. He was one match from he lost in the blood round 2 years in a row, which was heartbreaking because he's such a hard worker. He's going to be a senior this year, so I hope they have a season just for his sake, because he will be one of the top guys in the state. And obviously we had Jared's nephew, Zach. He come out, Zach Kuhn. He came out for the sport this year as a freshman, and he did it exceptionally well, phenomenal. He's an athlete, 110% all the way through. Just didn't know lick about wrestling, so he picked up on it pretty quick. And so for his sake, I hope the sport, for all my wrestlers' sake, I hope the sport goes on, but those are two of our shining, guys that should do well state-wise this year.
Yeah.
If they have a sectionals, we don't know what they're going to do. If they're going to have it, if they're not going to have it, obviously, if they bring it back, it's great, because our younger guys will just get that much more wrestling experience going forward. And, the top, I think it's top 4 will qualify for the states. I think that's what we determined. Top 4 would qualify for the state tournament and go from there. But again, we don't know if we're going to have tournaments, based on this whole COVID issue. So it's going to be up to the, Department of Health, the Interscholastic League. That's something that's kind of out of our hands. We can make, recommendations, say, hey, we've game planned this, and this, and pass it along to the Interscholastic League, and just, keep our fingers crossed as to what's going to happen.
Yeah. And I hope you guys have a season, like you said, just for those kids' sake, especially with, senior Brian Garcia that you had mentioned. I think it means a lot for those seniors out there that, work their butt off and have the chance to be top wrestlers in the state, and just to finish up their senior season. That's, you don't want to end on because of a virus or a pandemic, which is
and it's a long season. I mean, we go from the end of November till the end of February. Oh, wow. So I mean, realistically, even if we weren't till January, we could still get our practice. Even mid-January, we could still get all of our practice times in, get the guys in shape to where they need to be to compete. And I mean, 11 matches, I mean, that's nothing too hard to kick off. I mean, we can do, 4 tri meets, and get 12 matches in, and, and be done with it. So, or 4 quads, 3 quads, or however we want to set it up, and get it all done within the month of February and still get their season in. So hopefully that's something that's, possible. And, we can kind of cram it all in worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And, get these guys their season in.
Yeah, that'd be great. I hope so. I hope it works out for you guys. That's all I have for you today. I mean, this has been great. I really enjoyed the conversation. Fun. I actually, we've known each other for a while, so I haven't really talked to you about the wrestling stuff before. So it's awesome. I know you've been a coach there for a while, but it's cool to hear the insights and everything about that. And you taught me a couple of things about wrestling I had no idea about.
Yeah. No, I'm glad to have me on. I'm glad to be on. It's like I said, when I saw you reaching out, it's like, it'd be pretty cool. So, like I said, hopefully the season goes on, and it's everybody keeps asking me, how long do they keep coaching for? How long do they coach for? It's like you don't know. It's like I said, wrestling's one of those love-hate sports. As the season goes on, you're like, oh my God, when's the season going to be over? When the season ends, you're like, when's the season going to start again? You look forward to it starting, and halfway through, you're like, oh my God, this is such a long season, and this, but it's, hopefully for the foreseeable future, I'll see my son through, and unfortunately for him though, we live in Ashway, so he'll be going to Charo. What's the downside of that? But I'll have to find the address for him.
Yeah. We'll put a mailbox up somewhere.
Yeah.
Friday Night Lights or something like that. They put some kid out there. Yeah, that's awesome, Al. I mean, you do a great job out there, and I've heard, like I mentioned before, I've heard always positive things, and what great work you do with the kids and everything like that. So it's awesome to see the line of work. Now to come to a couple matches this year. I'm sure you.
I'll get you the schedule, let you know when it is, and it's definitely something it's different when if you don't know what the sport is, you're like, what the hell's going on? I get a lot of parents, they would ask me, like, what's the referee doing? What is all this? And he's throwing up points, and I'm like, well, there's individual score, and as I print out a little sheet here, this is your little cheat sheet, to figure out what's going on, and by season's end, they kind of pick up on what's happening and stuff of that nature. But yeah, it's a very confusing sport watching it from like a layman's perspective, but
yeah, I'm used to the WWE wrestling where they bring out the tables and chairs. I feel like, why are they doing that? But no, that's awesome. I mean, you do great things, and I always hear, like I said, I hear always great things about you and everything that you're doing in Westerly. It's awesome. Westerly's so lucky to have you as a coach for a long time. And
I'm lucky to be doing it. I'm lucky. I'm glad I got the opportunity. Out of high school, I didn't go to college, and that's, I look at it kind of like as a blessing. I'm like, listen, if I went to college, I probably wouldn't be coaching, so, there's the pros and cons to everything. And this, this just worked out very well.
That's awesome. 27 years is a long time.
Yeah. And you don't realize it, you're like looking ahead, you're like, that's so far in the future. and then you don't really realize how much time has passed by until you see your wrestlers out and about. Like if you're out having a drink, you're out at dinner, at the bar, whatever it is you're doing, and you see one of your wrestlers, and you're like, "What the hell are you doing here?" It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you mean I'm 23, and then all of a sudden you see your past wrestlers' kids coming up through the youth program. It's like, or in the middle school program, like Casey Jarrett. Casey wrestled for me. His son, he's in the middle school this year, and I mean, his son's a phenomenal wrestler. Casey was he was our only wrestler to place in New England. He placed his senior year sixth. State championships through the youth program. And now he's entered the middle school program, so it's like, holy cow! It's like my wrestlers' kids are now wrestling. It's just like, wow, where does it go? It goes by fast.
It's crazy. That's crazy. I think you had mentioned that to me before we did this interview. Like, I think at Jared's meet, you mentioned you do 27 years, and I was like, wow, I can't believe that it's 27 years of just coach, and but that's awesome. That just shows your passion, though, how much you love it and how much you keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I said, I'll keep doing it as long as I can, or until the wife tells me, she's very good and very supportive about it. It is taxing on the home life, between work and going to practice, and you got kids, and so it does take more than just me. It's the wife's very supportive about that. Robin does, takes on a lot extra burden. The season does put a burden on the home life for coaches, and she does pick up a lot of that for me. So I'm thankful for her and thankful for the support that she gives. And like I said, you take it 1 year at a time when you get as you're going along, and you see where it takes you.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. Yeah, Al, this has been a lot of fun. I can't wait to have you back on during when the season gets going. Hopefully we can do something, and I'll definitely be at a couple of matches, and then we have to do something with you and Din, talk about some good stories. Maybe you, Din, and Jared, all three of you guys could share some stories about.
I was just gonna say, definitely got to get Jib on. He's like I said, he was we coached together for quite a while. Like I said, outside of his his wrestling stories and coaching stories, we put some time into. We got some good stories, I'm sure, and for you. And I don't know if we can tell them all,
but we'll cut some stuff that we have to cut out. But
yeah. We'll turn the recording off and tell you them privately.
Yeah, exactly. But it'd be a cool round table to do something like that with the three of you guys, and just talk with you guys. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
But thanks a lot, Coach. I really appreciate your time and having you on, and I'll definitely talk to you soon.
All right, buddy. You take care. Thank you.
Take it easy.